Hey everybody, this is Ryan Deal with 605sports.com again, joined again by John Acree of 605 Sports for another edition of Amateur Baseball Report. Kind of touching on some amateur baseball topics and some stories that we've done recently and some other stuff, kind of in the future as we plug along here with some amateur baseball this summer. John did a very nice story earlier this week about Wade Hutmacher, Chamberlain fan. John, how did that story kind of come about, and what'd you kind of dig up for that story?
Yeah, I kind of noticed it on the Chamberlain Mallards Facebook page, and they kind of mentioned some stuff about Wade and playing for him this past Sunday night, and so I kind of did some digging and talked with Mike Schwartz, who was a manager for the Mallards for a number of years. He kind of stepped down. He still plays, but gave the managerial duties to someone else. And it was just interesting to learn about him, learn about Wade, and sort of a little hidden gem in amateur baseball, the duck blind. Um, they kind of refer to themselves as just kind of like this uh, diehard group of fans that just love the Mallards. They'd go to every game. But Wade was kind of just different from everyone else in that he was bringing a duck call to every game, and he was, chirping the umps as a lot of fans do when it comes to baseball. But they just loved him and what he meant to their program. A lot of good stories in there. You'll have to read it. We did post it yesterday to the website. There was even one about a mascot that he helped fund too, which was pretty funny to listen to and hear how that came about. So just an interesting story about how the Mallards kind of rallied together as a community, especially in Chamberlain. How they're kind of supporting the Hutmacher family. They put up a 50-50 raffle for this past game Sunday, and they kind of hope to continue doing a little more fundraising down the road for Wade and his family, especially the rest of the season. So, but as far as maybe on a little lighter note, I know this coming weekend is Quarry Days in Del Rapids, and I know there is a little bit of a Del Rapids rivalry with the PBR and the Mudcats, and a lot of history there, especially when it comes to Corn Belt standings.
Yeah, absolutely. Earlier this year I did the story about Jim Wilbur, longtime amateur baseball player, and then manager for the Del Rapids Mudcats. And in that story, he had referenced just how big their annual Take Me Out to the Ball Game night is for Quarry Days between PBR and the Mudcats. Drawing hundreds of people, maybe in some instances, thousands of people. And I don't want to start rattling off some of the amateur baseball players that have played in that game in recent years, because I know I'm going to forget a lot of big time names. But certainly, when it comes to amateur baseball in South Dakota, the Take Me Out to the Ball Game night is certainly one you can kind of circle and definitely look forward to. And we will have some coverage of that game. Rodney House will be running over there to take some photos, and certainly a big game. In the standings right now, PBR, the defending champs, 7-1. Mudcats, always a quality opponent, 5-3. So certainly action on the field will be fun. And then I saw earlier today that they're going to have the seventh inning character run, where select fans from the stands will be suiting up in hilarious costumes, and they'll race across the field, all to raise money for the Storehouse Food Pantry. So you see these amateur baseball games. There's always something a little different, a little quirky, that kind of draws fans to the ballpark and everything. So certainly that'll be something for fans to keep an eye on. But again, just it'll be a fun night of baseball there at Del Rapids, and definitely one in amateur baseball that people certainly look forward to. And John, I know you had another story in the works. You've been doing a good job of doing some stories on the new teams in amateur baseball. We got one new team that we need to report on, I guess.
Yeah, we're kind of rounding out the new teams in amateur baseball. I think in total, we're up three teams, one in Class A, two in Class B, and this week we'll have one more. The Estelline Merchants up north in the Eastern Dakota League. They made a return. It's been over 25 years since the Merchants last fielded a team. Brady Miller is the gentleman I talked to for the Merchants. His dad actually played for the last Merchants team, and he kind of wanted to get that program back up and running. I think he played a year or so with Ramona, the Express. Um, and so just kind of an interesting highlight on the newest team in the Eastern Dakota League, and how they kind of came to be as well. So
Absolutely. And then another story you did was more related to high school baseball. Frank Cutler, longtime high school basketball coach and administrator, Platte Geddes, but we should also give a shout out. Wasn't too bad of an amateur baseball player, was he?
yeah, 34-year amateur career, 8 years with Claremont, one with the Watertown amateur team, and then 25 with the Platte Killer Tomatoes. 2014 Hall of Fame inductee. I mean, he had a long amateur career, just a little bit longer coaching career. Coached for 36 years as a head coach in Platte, and recently called it a career. He retired as head coach of the boys basketball team in Platte Geddes, and tough to say whether or not he was a better player, baseball player, or coach, because he racked up quite a few wins for the Panthers as a coach. 546 wins, I think his final total was. So, yeah, we did that story about last Friday. If you haven't checked it out, you'll have to. It's on the website, or scroll back on our social media pages a little bit. But interesting stories with him, and his I guess final nod to coaching in his career.
Yeah. Frank was one of the good guys, as I tweeted your story. Frank was just one of the good guys, always good to deal with, and we're certainly going to miss him, but certainly a career worth recognizing and everything. All right, before we get out of here, your stat leaders. I know people may be looking for the stat leaders this week, but we're going to run those next week, I guess.
Yeah, early next week. We'll shoot for maybe June 1st, I think, is when we'll post those up again. So again, if you're an amateur team listening to this, make sure you're keeping those game changers up to date. I want to make sure we get as accurate as possible. And if you missed the last ones, the last amateur stat leaders, um, if you're an amateur baseball player that hit a triple, chances are you were on the list, because a lot of people tied for 10th on the triples list. So hopefully, maybe a little smaller numbers this time around.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Those will return next week, so people can be on the lookout for that. All righty. Well, as always, thanks, John. This was fun, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
Absolutely.